Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson. The poems contained in the Johnson edition. We turned out a poem 131, Besides the Autumn Poets Sing. Some have argued this is another theodicy. Certainly some have considered this an important prayer poem of Emily Dickinson. We'll get into that. The poem, when it was published in 1891, was called November for reasons that will be self-evident. We have another autumn poem just very much like poem 130 that we just finished with. Now our assumptions, speaking of, are that you have been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down that left-hand side, Chats with Emily, our playlist. I'm hopeful that you've already been exposed to our introductory set of comments where we commented on Emily's dialectic, Emily's tension at times with the faith of her upbringing. And I'm hopeful that you've read through the preceding 130 poems. As we said, we just finished with poem 130, These Are the Days When Birds Come Back. Now, we're going to get this language of grant me, O Lord, which kind of sounds like a prayer of a kind. Hey guys, do you remember when we did our talks with Walt, all of the poems of Whitman's Leaves of Grass, the Deathbed Edition? Do you remember that we made the comment several times that Whitman said that he tried to stay on the sunny side of life? Here we're going to see something very similar. In letter 311, Emily the last line of this poem will be reminiscent in some ways of poem 1075. In letter 311 of early November 1865 to Mrs. Holland, she said, quote, "The noons are more laconic now, and the sundowns sterner. November always seemed to me the Norway of the year," end quote. I find that fascinating. The way she references that. Now, some have read this as a theodicy, the question of how to bear up, how to deal with the pain and the suffering of existence. Let's enjoy the poem and see how she plays the game. By the way, she mentions in this poem a couple of poets that will tell us that who she reads. And as we have said, it's one of the great questions in our chats with Emily that we would love to chat with her about. Who'd you read, and who do you love? Who influences you? Scholars have obviously suggested that along with the reading of the Bible and Shakespeare, there's a few other poets. Here we're going to get James Thompson and William Bryant. Besides the autumn poets sing, a few prosaic days, a little this side of the snow and that side of the haze, a few incisive mornings, a few aesthetic eves, gone Mr. Bryant's goldenrod and Mr. Thompson's sheaves. Still is the bustle in the brook, sealed are the spicy valves, mesmeric fingers softly touch the eyes of many elves. Perhaps a squirrel may remain, my sentiments to share. Grant me, O Lord, a sunny mind, thy windy will to bear. Now, the final lines of the poem, of course, seem to read as a prayer or a call. Please help me, have a sunny mind. We'll talk about it here in a moment. Notice we begin with the word besides the autumn poets sing. And of course the poets here will be referenced in a little bit. James Thompson and his The Seasons, as well as William Bryant's The Death of Flowers. A few prosaic days, a little this side of the snow and that side of the haze. Hey guys, do you remember back in poem 130, O sacrament of summer days, O last communion, in the haze permit a child to join the Indian summer, that was referenced there. Notice the use of haze. I think haze is an important word for Emily because it references the unknown, right? It almost reminds us of those opening lines of Shakespeare's Macbeth, one fair is foul and foul is fair, hover through the fog and filthy air. That fog, that haze, that uncertainty. So here we are back with the uncertainty. A few incisive mornings, a few aesthetic eves, gone Mr. Bryant's goldenrod. This is referencing to William Bryant's The Death of Flowers. And Mr. Thompson sheaves, the Seasons is James Thompson's poem that's being referenced here. And then she uses the word still. And we saw this at the very beginning in poem 2. And 95 poems, she uses the word still. I'm convinced that, as I've said to you guys before, I think there's a lot of Emily Dickinson standing behind the poetry of T.S. Eliot. Remember what he says in East Coker 5, we must be still and still moving into another intensity for a further union, communion. You'll remember that. Here, still is the bustle in the brook, sealed are the spicy valves. And again, this use of the word still to mean both motion as well as endurance or duration, right? Still is the bustle in the brook, sealed are the spicy valves, mesmeric fingers softly touch the eyes of many elves. In other words, summer is going away, right? It's now autumn, it's soon to be winter in the November winter. Perhaps, this takes us back to poem 696, Acres of Perhaps. I love her use of that word. Perhaps a squirrel may remain my sentiments to share. In other words, she's all alone. And then finally, all of that to set up the prayer, the call. Grant me, she'll use this phraseology in 235 as well as poem 918. When she says it in poem 918, she'll say it this way, thou knowest every woe, needless to tell thee so, but canst thou do the grace next to it heal? Question mark. That looks a harder skill to us, still just as easy, if it be thy will, to thee grant me. Thou knowest though, so why tell thee? This idea of grant me, it takes us back, of course, to Christ in Gethsemane. Let this cup pass and all of that. Oh Lord will take us back to poem 70. You'll remember, oh Lord, how frail are we. Oh Lord, a sunny mind, thy windy will to bear. Now, sunny will get used in 1674, a sunny tone, and in 1752, sunny brevity. Thy windy will is a phrase that's only used one time, and it's here, to bear. We're in poem 132 going to get something similar, and so I always bear the cup. In other words, the idea is what at 2a? Well, it's hard, right? It's hard to endure the loss of summer. It's hard to endure the pain of life, the suffering of life. Again, this can be read as a theodicy. At 2b, hear all the S sounds, much like poem 130. We're very similar. And as well, I love her word choice of the word still, for example. And we mentioned at 3a already, T.S. Eliot's East Coker 5, we must be still and still moving. James at 3a as well, James Thompson's The Seasons, as well as William Bryant's The Death of Flowers. Again, these are writers that she would have read. Finding at 3b, how do you bear the loss of summer? And how do you acquire a sunny mind? And I'm hopeful that your study of Emily is helping you find a way to a sunny mind. Thank you.